Let's get back to action going on here at the 2011 Battle on Broadway on FCS. And back to the Battle on Broadway, U.S. versus Russia. We'll move to 96 kilos. That's 211 and a half pounds. We'll meet Jake Varner, a four-time NCAA finalist from Iowa State. Now training out in State College for his former college coach, Cale Sanderson, now the head coach at Penn State. Varner going to take on scrapper Shamil Akhmedov. These two met earlier in the year. Akhmedov won the match. Varner was hurt during the match, could not continue. It was a battle then, and I think it's going to be a battle now. Jake Varner, 2009 World Team member, represented the United States before his senior year at Iowa State. So he went international, back to college. Now he's training in State College, Pennsylvania, at Penn State with Cale Sanderson, a guy that knows a little bit about winning on the Olympic level, was a 2004 Olympic champion.
Plus
and he's got a renewed vigor here. You're starting to see some things from Varner that are really going to remind you of Cale Sanderson as we're underway with Shamil Akhmedov and Jake Varner.
That's why success breeds success. You know, Cal being a four-time NCAA champion, Jake stepping into those shoelaces and being able to be physical like Cal, but then also smooth like Cal. That was something that a lot of people have never seen before as an individual to be able to move like Cal. Jake's got a lot of the same skills. I know he's a little bit bigger than Cal was, but being able to transition in, change the levels, and just a very physical young wrestler.
Varner with the ability to work out with Sanderson every day. And trust me, Cale still gets out there and rolls around on the mat. He actually entered the Northeast Regional Championships this year, didn't give up a point, and he wrestled up at this weight. Varner actually wrestled up at heavyweight for that. That was back in April. So Cale actually did get back on the mat, and Varner wrestling alongside with him. Now Varner going to come across, get that push out. Is it going to be one confirmed? So he was close to finishing the takedown, but had the mat awareness to know where the edge was. So with 1:08 remaining in the first period, Jake Varner, California native, leading Shamil Akhmedov 1-0.
Great execution of a swing single, and also knowing where you're at, driving your opponent to the edge of the mat, taking him out for the 1-point takedown.
Another young and up-and-coming Russian. Akhmedov was the junior world champion last year. Now Varner nearly close to scoring. Now a foot sweep attempt by Akhmedov. Again, something the Russians give you that you don't see domestically is a different feel. They're not positioned like a college wrestler. They kind of sit there and it's almost a lax physical style, and then they come out beating you on angles. And now, speaking of beating somebody on angles, Varner just beats Akhmedov on the angle. Is he going to get the takedown? Nothing yet, but what are they going to do? Did they give him one or two? And they give him one and then two more for the exposure.
Great execution, simple 3-point takedown. It's something special.
I'll wait to see how the actual scoring worked out.
Bring him back up to the feet, and there may be, no, doesn't look like there's any type of protest. Going right back into it.
13 to go.
And that's the one thing about wrestling is you usually know exactly where you're at with the scoring. There's not too much cheap shotting. It's all about just going out there and putting the best you have against your opponent.
And a 2-0 first period win for Jake Varner.
Not overly physical, but very smooth, very methodical, knowing exactly, when you want to step in, make that full-fledged attempt, and then execution. There's Cale Sanderson right there.
Cale wearing the hat next to U.S. National Freestyle coach Zeke Jones. That's an interesting look there for Cale. Hat and sport coat.
Well, he's a professional. He always dresses the part, right?
There you see Varner's scoring sequence. They didn't give him one here. I think it looks like they just gave him the one from this position, even though he went over and exposed. So I'm not sure if the scoring was completely accurate there, but regardless, Varner won the period.
And that could have been interpreted as a 3-point
It could have been because it depends on where if the one was not awarded, it has to be 3. But if the one was awarded, it would be 1 and then 2. But regardless, it's 0-0 now here in the second period. Akhmedov, again, as we said, one of those young and up-and-comers, a junior world champion, just 20 years old, was second in the Eurasian, while Varner was 9th in the 2009 World Championships and won the World Team Trials. Has had a nice battle, back-and-forth battle with J.D. Bergman, who will probably be coming back to action at the U.S. World Team Trials. Right now, Varner gets the nod for the United States with 1:22 remaining. Here in the bright lights, the big city, the battle on Broadway, it hasn't quite worn off yet, Rulon. The fact there's wrestling, the first sporting event in the history of Times Square, and it's the oldest sport. It's the sport of wrestling.
And to be able to be at the Battle of Broadway, this is something that I never thought I'd actually see in my lifetime is actually the sport of wrestling at Times Square, to see people who've never seen the sport of wrestling before get the opportunity, and then also see so many of these young wrestlers that are growing up in Beat the Streets program to be able to watch it here at Times Square. It means that all that hard work that they're putting in someday will have a chance to go out and represent at Times Square or potentially the Olympic Games and bring a medal back to America. That's something that a young wrestler looks forward to their whole career.
35 seconds remaining here in a scoreless second period. Jake Varner in the red for the United States. 4-time All-American at Iowa State. 4-time finalist.
Both wrestlers making a decision, not wanting to take a big effort here, realizing that you have the potential clinch position coming up. If they hold out, there's a chance that the odds will be in your favor. You get the opportunity to score the points. Looks like nothing's going to happen close to the edge of the mat.
Varner's going to give it up with 5 seconds to go.
Just solid pressure, just keeping that pressure on your opponent. Varner making the mistake, allowing himself to get to the edge of the mat and not have enough room to counter the reaction and ultimately getting taken down for the 1-point takedown.
Now, talking to Zeke Jones, they're talking about the young dynamic of this Russian team. But with that dynamic, they really believe that Akhmedov is going to be the guy for Russia, as some of their other world medalists and world champions are starting to get up there in age, and kids like this are coming out and really performing well at the Euregan and the Junior World Championships and things of that nature. So I guarantee you this is not the first or last time we're going to see Shamil Akhmedov competing against an American wrestler.
No, at the young age he is, and be able to have the physical awareness that he has, I know you can see a little bit of frustration in him. Jake's a very big physical, wrestler, and this is just kind of a good, tactical, good strategy match. Not highfalutin, not a lot of crisp moves, but just a grind, a slow pushing match. Taking an opportunity, 1 or 2 setups, 1 or 2 finishes. Keeping the match really close. Now into the third period, both wrestlers have a chance to win this. This is something that has an opportunity to go down as one of the better matches of the night.
Well, regardless of whether this is the better match or not, this entire duel has just been a real spectacle. Of course, this match has heightened importance as we have 7 weight classes in international wrestling. This is the 6th, and the U.S. is leading 3-2. So this third period is really going to be the difference maker, whether or not it comes down to Tervel Delagnev. Right now, Varner's going to score a point, because if Varner wins this period and wins the match, it's going to give the United States a 2-match advantage with 1 match to go. This could lock it up should Varner prevail here in this third period. Right now, with a 1-0 lead, under a minute to go, looking in good shape to do that.
Oh, just absolutely smooth, technical. Varner taking his opponent to his hands, getting him off balance, getting him lean forward. Varner with the quickness to go around to score, and then had the opportunity for a trapdoor arm gut. You can get 2, 3 quick turns out of that. Period's over, you win the match. But Varner didn't execute on the turn, and see if it costs him. You always have to seize every opportunity. Varner's getting fatigued. Both wrestlers are getting very fatigued here with 35 seconds left. Varner's got to watch where he's at.
Trying to keep involved now. There's Varner, throws him on the edge. What's going to happen? Referee says 1. The United States wants 3 red. I got a feel this is going to go to review, Rue. What do we think?
It's all interpretation of where they went out of bounds. At what point did the wrestler expose his back? And so right now it looks like the call is going to go for Varner, but they're going to have to bring it back in and interpret where it was done and look at the video replay to see what happened and see if there is a clear interpretation of who gets the points.
So the Russians are challenging, which means the call did go 3-0 Varner's way. So here it is on the edge. Russian driving forward, foot. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I think that was Varner's 3, because, yes, the rule is if it's a step out. But if you step out and are in the middle of initiating a move, see, there he is. I'm going to throw you over here. Yes, the foot is out, but he initiates the move, gets the exposure. So I like the call, and it's not just because I was born right here in the United States.
Well, you look at the movement of a wrestler, and the movement has started inbounds, and the movement was to take him out of bounds. Jake did step out, but in the process, the movement, and you call it a little bit of a tight waist lock, and it's a dump. You dump him to the back, and potentially a 3-point turn.
Well, you saw in that last replay, it looked like Varner's right foot planted, and then he initiated the move. That last angle really gave us a chance to see yes, the left leg stepped out, but it was after the right leg was planted, clearly inbounds, and then he came through with that chest lock situation. So initially it was kind of hard to see, but now we see it on the replay here. It's going to be 3 points for Varner. It should be another point for the challenge.
Just great mat awareness, knowing where you're at the whole time, even though you're getting close to the edge of the mat, being able to execute a little dump like that for 3 points. That is huge with less than 15 seconds left now.
Zeke Jones walking over the table wanting to put that 5th point on the board, which it should be 5-1, as it was 1, then 3, and then 1 for Russia losing the challenge. But with short time here, the score's not going to matter. 5 seconds to go. And Jake Varner going to win the period, going to win the match, and for the United States, it's going to clinch the duel.
Just spectacular execution from Jake to be able to set it up, understanding the whole mat awareness is, and that's a matter of knowing under pressure, working the zone, being in position. Both, very young wrestlers, both very experienced wrestlers for their age, and this is something you could see at the next Olympics in London, 12.
So Jake Varner at 96 wins a 2-0, 0-1, 5-1 victory at 96 kilos. That's 211.5 pounds over an opponent who had beaten him earlier in the year